Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Vpress webinar, session 1, Introduction to Web2Print. I'm going to kick off with a few PowerPoint slides now. I can still see there's still people joining as I talk. That is fine. I will crack on with it because we do have a time limit on us. Let me just allow some more people access. And I've done a sound test, so I believe you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so just to get going, I'm going to start off with a little bit of housekeeping. So I've stated a welcome to one and all. Just waiting to get
Hello?
everybody. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, can I, yes.
Yeah, I can hear you as well, so it's all good. I'm just going to mute you for now. There's a little bit of background there. I'm gonna rattle on, go through the presentation and the webinar, and then there's some Q&As at the end where you can either type or you can talk back to me. Quick introduction of Vpress and why we do these webinars. We've done a series of these webinars before with some of our partners, which have been tremendously successful. So we thought we'd continue it running from our own angle. I'm going to give you a quick overview of this session, which is the first and basic session, which is an introduction to what we know as Web2Print. Q&A session at the end, and I'm going to let you know how to obtain a copy of this webinar video should you deem it helpful. Okay. Moving on, this session overview. So this is Vpress putting something back into the industry that we work within. So the very industry that that pays us and gives us an income, we want to nurture it and look after it as we move forward. It's aimed at users who are new to the term of Web2Print and what it really means. Later in sessions further down the line, we're going to be challenging that term. It's not my favourite terminology of what it is that we do, but it's one that suits. I'm going to give an overview of the Web2Print market, specifically the UK in 2016. I'm going to show how to identify a Web2Print product and what to look out for. Excuse me. I'm going to give a brief Web2Print demonstration of our core print system, Q&A session at the end, and any additional follow-up upon request should you require it. So moving through. A few facts about Vpress and a little bit about myself and just doing this. So Vpress is a 16-year-old company. There's no real hard sell here. This is just a bit of information for you. Vpress is a 16-year-old company. We're 16 in February 2017. We're completely independent. We don't have any print arm, no design or creative arm. We're not owned by a print management company. We're a completely independent company that's sustainable. We were born out of a print company from the print industry back in 2001. We are successful and have a proven track record here in the UK. We have an office in New Zealand and Australia, and we have representation in the US, which has proven to be quite a strong new emerging market for us, although that market is quite well in existence. And we have a huge number of orders being processed every day, every week, every month. And then a little bit about me. My name is Kelvin Bell. I'm the sales director and one of the founders here at Vpress. I've got 20 years plus experience in industry. I'm not sure where all that time went. And I've got in excess of 2,000 successful Web2Print installs to global organizations. By global organizations, I mean companies who are represented on more than one continent, brands, things like that. So, what is Web2Print? Well, if you search Wikipedia, you can see that Wikipedia has its own view of what Web2Print is, stating that Web2Print, also known as Web2Print, remote publishing and print e-commerce, a broad term to the practice of doing business using websites. Fundamentally, that's a general interpretation because in our sector, what it is, it's the ability to process an order from some form of online portal, website, using some form of methodology through to commercial print production. and the truer the file coming through, the more integral that relationship, that integration, that link, however you want to call it, is, then the more successful that install of what a Web2Print system is. So there's many people with their own views of what Web2Print represents, but fundamentally it's taking your order from a website and passing that order through to commercial production, and hopefully beyond as well, where those files can be integrated into some form of workflow. So the Web2Print market, well, the UK, the default ordering technology for the UK market is indeed Web2Print. The UK has a £14 billion market, fifth largest in the world, second largest in Europe. And it's interesting because according to the BPIF, these figures are actually growing. It is on the increase, and it is a positive time to be in print, not a negative time. And we can see that by the use of personalization and indeed digital, and how far digital's come in the last 5-6 years. It's a process for getting orders from client into the production process, as I mentioned there. So from the web to the print. In our own experience, we take files from not only a website or an application, but also client websites and application, and we fire them through into MIS, production workflow, a distributed production workflow, and we even make changes within the production files to factor in for finishing. So there's a whole range of different elements that we have to do in being a Web2Print provider. So the key things about Web2Print is there's no geographical boundaries or time restrictions, as it is a true 24/7 route to market. So basically, it's a storefront that's available 24/7 that enables you to receive print-ready files through to your print production. So we're not in an 8 to 6 or a 9 to 5 type environment anymore. We really are in a 24/7 business environment, and our customers operate in this sector. So why shouldn't we? It's not to say you have to have the presses running on a 3-shift system, 7 days a week, but it is a way to manage their expectation and manage their orders coming through. So ties any customer into your business by adding to existing service offering. So that storefront, that Web2Print storefront, not only is available 24/7, but it allows you to add additional items that the customer could be wanting. So rather than the relationship being production-led, it's actually client-led, which is where it should be. The typical print buyer in the UK is 28 female graduate and a commodity buyer, not a print buyer. And that's in the B2B sector. These figures are from the BPIF, and that's the kind of person that we have to tailor a solution in order to work with. Web2Print automates the order and production process directly into any MIS, MIS being Management Information System, to achieve cost savings. What it does also, in addition to this, is it increases efficiency, which equals profit, and it increases scalability, which equals growth. This can be as much as 40% on print jobs coming through. So any print job that you're touching, that's coming into your business, that you're touching from one stage to another before it gets to production, that's profit. You're losing profit on that job that's coming through, and it can't really be said any more direct than that. There's two main classifications of Web2Print. There's business consumer, B2C. Typical brands out in the marketplace are Vistaprint, Moonpig, Funky Pigeon, FedEx Office, to name but some of the many that are out there. I think we're all very familiar with what these do. The first three definitely are advertising on TV and well-known brands here in the UK, if not global. The second sector is B2B, and the UK had 58 companies offering Web2Print services 6 years ago. There's approximately around about 12, 13 at the moment, and these are just a selection of some of them. XMPie from Xerox, PageFlex, a long-term provider, W3P, which is printing.com, and indeed CorePrint, which is our own product, which I'll give you a little demo of in a couple of minutes' time. So that's just to classify the two main areas of what we know as Web2Print. There's lots of sub-classifications, such as hybrid mail, DM functionality, but pretty much most of everything that we do can be sorted into one of those two classifications. So identifying Web2Print as in way of a checklist. This is a list that we've put together with the year's experience that we've got of what to look for when identifying a Web2Print solution. So Looking at a product, is it direct or reseller? It's like buying anything. Are you going to buy it directly from source, from the people who make it and support it? Or are you going to buy it from a reseller who is passing it on from someone else? With software, in this kind of software, which requires development, ongoing development, and ongoing maintenance, then it's always best to buy direct. By buying direct, you know what you're getting, and you're buying it from the people who make it and who are linked to that. And it cuts out the middleman. And it really is a valuable lesson that over the last few years that is definitely come true. Then there's the topic of browser compatibility, proprietary software, and responsiveness. So this is a complicated title, so I'm just going to break it down in a very simple way. So when you deliver a solution to a particular client, you need them to be able to see and use that solution. So some large corporates use older versions of browsers like Internet Explorer 6, 7, 8, 9. And by doing so, they're unable to use HTML5, Flash, and Silverlight, the three symbols that are detailed there within that icon. Flash is no longer supported. Silverlight is pretty much on its way out. HTML5 is something that's new and it is only going to get stronger and stronger, but still isn't there. It's been about 2 years away the last 4 years, and it still is about 2 years away from being completely market-wide. So if you're going to utilize any of those items there, you're going to force the client to have to download and install software, either something that they do or something that their IT department does. This is a major revenue generator for ourselves because a lot of people go out and buy software and not realize that they need to add this plugin software into their customer's browser, which in a corporate you can't do. So, and that's if it works at all. Sometimes HTML5 won't work in certain scenarios as well. You have to have an option that's non-proprietary software and proprietary software. So in addition to this, as you move towards HTML5, what HTML5 is good for is the ability to have a responsive element. By responsive, I mean that it's mobile compatible, as in the system will automatically resize and repurpose itself in order to fit into a mobile or tablet type device. This is very important when companies like Tesco, 65% of their online orders last Christmas came from a mobile device between the hours of 4 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So, you know, a lot of B2B and B2C solutions have to be mobile responsive, depending on the nature and the caliber of the client that's going to be using it. The next point on our list is hosting and security. If you're going to buy some software and then you're going to buy some servers and you're going to host it internally, and then you're going to have an IT guy, and then you're going to power that 24/7 and maintain a controlled temperature environment, and that is something that you think is acceptable in this modern day and age, then that is fine. However, the standard is to utilize the cloud or a SaaS-based system. SaaS means software as a service. SaaS, cloud, pretty much the same thing, where you have a secure environment within the internet. Amazon is one of the leading providers of online hosting currently. It's secure. It's available access from anyone, and you get some key benefits like redundancy, backups. So if anything goes wrong, it has fail-safe. So your storefront always continues to operate. Very important to know where it's hosted, especially here in the UK, where we have very strong data protection rules. So we have to manage what we do with data, and we have to be accountable with what we do for data. And other countries are very much coming on board with that kind of rationale in data and security. So that is a very important factor in itself. Then we've got internationalization or globalization. Here in the UK, specifically, the main requirements are local government, NHS, etc. But we do have corporates who utilize banking legislation to have French or Japanese employees here in the UK, and those employees want to work in their own language, so there's a requirement to do that. Also, if you deliver a corporate solution to a corporate customer and they've got offices overseas, then there's an opportunity for you to engage with them at that international level. And having a system that can meet all three aspects of internationalization, which are localization, globalization, and font integrity, can be quite key and a great advantage for your business, no matter what size you are. Then we've got support and development. How easy can changes to be made? Believe it or not, it only gets harder and harder delivering workable software, and because clients' expectation has moved on and further forward all the time. So clients now want to make changes to that software themselves, and they want to have a control, and they want to change it to their brand, have it in their style, work a different way, and they expect that, and quite often that has to be delivered. So if you're buying from a reseller, that's very difficult. If you're buying direct, then that should be straightforward, and it should also be a potential revenue stream for you, as you can make a markup on things like that. Then we come to MIS, ERP, CRM integration. MIS, Management Information System, we're all familiar with that term. ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. CRM, Customer Relationship Management. These are applications on the client side. So it's not just integrating into production in order to provide a production workflow. It's also integrating into the client systems. Huge benefits to do that, because by linking into a client's ERP system, such as Ariba, Oracle, SAP, you would be paid somewhere in the region of 4 working days with no invoice reconciliation. It turns your business, it adds positive cash flow to your business. So a huge benefit in its own right. And then finally, at the end of our list, a financial check of your potential technology partner. All too often, we've seen many technology companies, as indeed print companies, fall by the wayside through the recent recession. It's a good idea to know that you're in bed with somebody who can last the longer term on a bricks and mortar type level. So they're the 7 key points that are well worth mentioning from experience on our side. So what I'm going to do now is going to give you a quick demonstration just to show you a Web2Print product. It happens to be ours because I feel as though it would be unfair to show someone else's. So we open up to a login screen like so. And I'm going to take that straight across to the internet. Enter username and password. And this is just one option to come into an application like this. Quite often, companies don't do this. It would be on a B2C system where you could log straight in, or it could actually utilizing something called SSO, single sign-on, where you would come straight in from one application through to another. Now, what we've come into here is we've come into our Web2Print Aspire application. Just as a very basic user, you can see I've got shopping cart facilities. I've got lots of different options that I can turn on and turn off. As I scroll down, I've got various different categories which are animated. And within those categories, I can go and select various different products. As I go into marketing material, I can see a range of items that are visible for me to either create, edit, or amend. I'm going to go into my favorite, which is the corporate invite. And I'm going to create a new document, and I'm going to edit it on screen while you can see. So within my browser, I have a blank template with some default colors. I can change those colors. So I can have various drop downs, buttons, options, lots of different interactivity to how I can amend that. I'm going to bring in an image, so basic image management as you would expect. I'm going to drop in my name there, and I'm going to call this the webinar Open Day 2017. So as I scroll down, the template stays on screen with me here. I've got a large body of text in front of me in that box there. Make a text change, and now I actually want to change this image here within the application. Now, digital asset management is becoming a more and more important factor of Web2Print. It's the ability to manage digital asset management. Excuse me. So we can link to any customer systems, or it can come inside a normal Web2Print product now. It should be part of the feature set of that application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my asset management system there. I'm going to pick an image. I've got an image there. It's pre-validating that image. It's telling me that the size is incorrect, and I can read the attributes. So it's telling me the image is incorrect. So I'm going to crop that image within the application, like so. So all I've got to do is just identify the area that I wish to crop. I'm happy with that. That is absolutely fine. and I'm going to select that image. So what I'm doing is I'm not only selecting an image and bringing it into the actual document, I could upload an image into that, and I could validate the image to make sure it's print quality as well. As I scroll down, I can have a date for my event. So I'm going to have it for the 24th of November. I'm going to do that at 9 a.m. and I'm going to offer a breakfast, a lunch and a dinner. And the final thing I'm going to amend there is I'm going to change that logo at the bottom where it says Vpress. So I'm going to open that up, come into my folder. I've got an image there that I created for the purpose of this demo. I'm going to select that image, and I've now created a corporate invite for Kelvin Bell Property Group, like so. So I can see it on screen. I can request a PDF at any time, and I can also see it's multi-page as well. So if I scroll through to the next page, the branding and the imagery are brought through, which I can see on screen. I can select a location for where I'm going to have that. So I'm going to have that at the Hotel Novotel, and I'm going to have vpress.co.uk/event1234. And then I'm going to refresh the document. Based upon the drop down I've just selected and the information I've typed into the URL, I now have the title in a solid at the top. I've got an address there at the bottom. I've got an optimized image that's been brought into where my event is. If I change that event and have it Arundel House, the map will be optimized based upon where that location is. So it's automatically pulling in a map. All that information is embedded in a QR code down further at the bottom, which I can see. If I want to just check some of the details there, I can at any time request a PDF, which is a high-res print version. And even using internet conferencing software as I am today, you can see it opens pretty quickly. The information is all rendered correctly. I'm happy with the solid coming down. I can see where I dropped in webinar. I can see the image I brought in. I've got a waterproof because we don't want anyone to go down to a copy shop and get a really low quality off-brand set of printed items. I've got various information coming in. I've got my logo for the Kelvin Bell Property Group. And again, as I scroll down, I've got my map. So I've got my double-sided document as required. Just going to close that down now. It could be 132 pages. It would still be very quick. We use premium hosting, which again is a key factor that I mentioned on the actual slides. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save that. I'm going to call that a Kelv webinar 123. Save that onto the system. I could do other versions of that particular product, or what I could do is I could order that straight away and take it into my shopping cart. In ordering it, you would need some additional details. So here it's asking for a cost center, so we can do cost center validation and so forth. I've got a low-res version on screen, and I can also specify a quantity. I want 250 of those items, and that will work out a price based upon a matrix that's been put into the system. All of this is completely configurable as you would expect in any Web2Print system. And all the other Web2Print systems that I've shown are just as good, I'm sure, as what I'm showing you on screen. I'm going to add that to basket. And when I get there, I'm going to check that order out. So I can add other items. It's all a full shopping cart experience where I can drop in my details like so. Delivery name, specify address, and specify an invoice address, all configurable. Standard print comment. We've all worked at a print company and had requests like so. Check that order out. And the system's now given me a receipt. It would also email me a receipt as well. All this information could be masked under a URL, under different branding. I can change aspects to the portal very quickly and very efficiently. So you're actually delivering a solution for your customer. Everything you see here is fully responsive, as I mentioned on one of the previous slides, which I can do a quick demonstration of. So if it was on a mobile device, what I was trying to show you is that this would work like so. And I could go through and I could view categories and various products, and I could order them on my mobile device. So that is what responsive means, which is the point I was trying to get across there. So moving on with our PowerPoint presentation element. So why Web2Print fails? These are the most common reasons why that we've certainly found out. So failure to understand the client's requirement or expectation. Browsers, which I've covered off there. Delivering a solution when a client has a particular type of browser or a corporate version or standard of browser. That's caused quite some issues. And very much linked to that, the use of proprietary software, Flash, Silverlight, HTML5, as I mentioned, and the ability to not put those into an application. Failure to understand the scope of requirement. So internationalization, DAM, responsiveness, all these are elements that the customer may wish to use within their version of Web2Print and what you deliver them. And if you're not taking that brief carefully enough, then you won't be able to deliver that naturally. So DAM could be management of digital media, not just print, video products, things like that. They could have diverse products that are not suitable for Web2Print. For example, anything that's going to be created on the fly, if there's no corporate branding to follow or there's not a template per se, then that's probably not really the most ideal product to go onto a Web2Print product. But as delivery of any kind of online ordering or IT project, having a real good scope of requirement and a good level of understanding of what's needed is actually key. The final thing there is fonts. Fonts really are still an issue, which is very surprising to someone like me who's been in the industry for a long time. A lot of clients use their own specific fonts and want to have them uploaded within a system. So font integrity and the ability to manage and utilize those fonts within a browser for end users is a huge potential cost saving for the customer, and it's perfectly legal to do that as well. So the fact that selecting a system that doesn't encapsulate the correct font for the correct document, especially moving into point of sale and large format, is a real issue. Another area is the inability to implement into your own business. We've done many installs where there's just been a very capable person in the studio who just will not accept it. The internet, they've worked in a certain way in production or the studio or the account management or the sales guys. They've worked in a certain way for a long period of time, and why should they change? They should change because the world has changed and the internet is here. Production now is embracing the internet wherever you look, in every aspect of production, and this is where our industry is going. And you're either moving in that direction or you're not. There's no way around that. So it's key to get those staff and the people involved in this up and running, both internally and externally, so your customers as well as your internal staff. But it's internal staff, from my experience, who are the people who either are for it and are willing to embrace change, or not willing to embrace that change. Impulsive buy with hardware, or free with a press at a show. Not that there's anything free when you buy a press, but people will buy software impulsively and then not install it and have it working. We've had a recent win in Orlando where, bear me 1 second. We had a recent win in Orlando where we had a new client who had pretty much every Web2Print software that was available. He'd got it free, or he'd been given access to it, or given it on loan, and none of it had got going. And there's just a culture of not using anything that's paid for or got free, or and so forth. So it's a key reason why it doesn't get going, because people don't have the confidence in it, because it doesn't actually work, because it's not being utilized in the way that it's been purchased for. Then there's mobile responsiveness. Mobile responsiveness is key now. More and more people, although I failed to show you on my little demonstration there, but more and more people do have a requirement for people to order on the move. It's the nature of the world now. We do so much from our portable devices. The ability to order not just print, but other items, or to view or approve items on the move is key. So that is a key element within the actual application. Internal incompatibility. Systems you already have are a negative to advancement. There's certain MIS systems that are legacy systems, as in have been around for a period of years, where you can't link up to, or they won't link up to. That's not the direction to take any production business. The key thing about technology in this age is integration. 2016, anything that doesn't integrate isn't fit for purpose. That's quite a harsh and quite a bold statement, but it's true. If you've got an MIS system or you've got a workflow and it only receives jobs in a certain way at a certain time, managed by a certain third party, then it's not fit for purpose, because the idea of an MIS, a web-to-print system, a workflow application, is designed to drive orders to press without people touching it where appropriate to do so. So it's a very important and very key factor. And then the final thing, budget spiraling costs, failure to understand additional or hidden costs. I did a presentation a few years ago where I opened up saying the printers shouldn't buy web-to-print. Because quite often they will buy it reactively, not proactively. Where really you need to, any purchase you make for your business, you do need to be proactive and you need to understand the costs. So a couple of examples there. B2C is very fashionable at the moment, and printers all seem to be thinking, well, I'm gonna try a new localized Vprint type business. What you pay in setting a system up is a very small percentage of what you have to pay ongoing in order to market that that website or that application out to potential new clients. So costs can spiral there if you don't have the correct training and support on board. So I'm now going to see if anybody would like to ask any questions. Is there any questions? Feel free to type or speak.
Hi, Kelvin.
Hiya.
Hiya. How do you combat the stock side of this system? Because I know we utilise it, and a lot of people want to use it not just as a variable print mechanism, but also to actually hold stock and control it and report on it.
Okay, good question. How do we utilise the stock element of the system? Well, products within the system are held in catalogues. You can add products to the system via an Excel spreadsheet. And I should point out, just before I say that, there's a range of different types of products. It's not just the variable items I've shown there, the stock items, which could be held in a dispersed warehouse or virtual warehouse environment, but there's also print on demand and request for quote products as well, where people may have to upload some artwork into an existing product code. But within the system, we can manage stock quantities, stock volumes. We can have that directional, single directional into an MIS or a warehouse type system. Or what we can also do is we can do bi-directional into many of the leading MIS applications, if that's the way you want to go. But CorePrint is a web-to-print system, speaking on my behalf. We can manage stock balances, depletions, out of stock notifications, minimum stock runs. We can manage print into stock, out of stock. So there's a whole range of elements that we can actually support there. So, and I'd quite happily show you that. If you want to just drop me an email, I can give you a quick 5-minute intro and run through that if that's something that you wish.
Cool.
All right. So somebody's just typed a tech question here. How much is a typical web-to-print system? Very good question. How much is a typical web-to-print system? That's kind of caught me off guard. Okay, so speaking from Vpress, we have a storefront which you can buy for £750, which is from £750, I should highlight that, which is a single storefront that with some basic functionality. Our unlimited storefront application is somewhere between £5,500 and £7,500. For larger type-based systems, depending on what requirement is, you could be looking at around 10K. So I have heard that there's some applications in the market that are around about the 86,000, 120,000 pounds and upwards. So I don't think there's any typical price on an application. It depends on how you're going to be paying for it ongoing. Licensing is very much dated. Transactional seems to be the way forward. We've been utilising a transactional model where the more you pay for it, the cheaper the orders are going through it, and that works very well because it builds a long-term relationship with our customer base. So there's no typical price for a web-to-print system, unfortunately. Any more questions? What is, I've just got one here. What is the hardest Web2Print installation? Okay, hardest Web2Print installation, I guess, is the one where you can't speak to the end customer. If there's any level of integration or there's any artwork that's required, it's the ability to, if we can't speak to anyone or we can't get any firm details to build and understand an expectation, and you're having to work with the unknown, then that is a very difficult thing to do indeed. So in my opinion, that is that. Okay. Well, if there's no more questions, so you can download this. This is a session if you wish. By all means, just let myself or Charlotte know. We also have another session which is specifically about internationalization and mobile responsiveness on the 27th of October. Please feel free to come and join us on that. But aside from that, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone joining us on their busy in a busy schedule. And if you need anything from myself or any of the teams at Vpress, please get in touch. Let us know. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thanks, Colin.
All right. Cheers.